Yeah.
Joel's talking about. All right. Well, I mean, I guess it's like related, right? Because we're talking Spidey, but Insomniac Games were the victims of ransomware. That's why you don't open weird emails, kids. So they had a lot of
What's an
information.
email, Grandpa?
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
an electronic correspondence.
I'm just being silly.
So um, they were the victims of ransomware, and they hackers got a ton of stuff out of their I guess email and communications and servers because there's allegedly I, I cannot either confirm nor deny that I've seen it. There's alleged Wolverine gameplay out there, so um,
Yeah.
it's bad. It's real bad. But you know what? What's not bad? Uh, that they've basically have an X Men license until like 2035 or something. So I guess that's good news, right?
Well,
Um, Good news is that they have the one of my predictions actually came true. In those leaked documents, they're alleging that there's a Miles Morales type of Venom game coming out in 2025,
hmm
which more than
no,
likely
2024 I saw.
2024. You saw? Okay,
That's what
so
I
I saw
saw.
one that said 2025. So
I'll check it, but I'm pretty
okay,
sure.
okay. Um, because if it's 20, so because I was gonna say if it's 2025, if it's 2024, dude, that could probably mean, what came out when Miles came out.
Right.
Yeah, so it could be a refresh. It could be a pro. So you
No,
know,
you're right. Q2 2025.
okay, yeah. I mean, still like Q2 2025, it could be a
Yeah.
pro. Yeah.
Yeah. You're
So
right. Yep.
it could be a PS5 Pro, which there were some specs out there, and based on the specs, it's really impressive. So
Yes. Yes.
so yeah, cool. Okay, great. So that's great. Um, but yeah, man. And then there's a bunch of I guess Spider-Man DLC that got leaked out. Some of it is spoilerific, Joel. So I don't know if you saw any of that, but finish the
I
freaking game.
did.
Finish the freaking game. and and one of the negatives I think is that they're planning, I guess, for Spider-Man 3. This is again rumors, speculation. Take this with a grain of salt. I'm just I'm just relaying information that's out there on, Polygon and Reddit and IGN and whatnot. So, um that Spider-Man 3 is going to be kind of like the Final Fantasy 7 remake where it's going to be divided into three separate games, and you're gonna have to buy each game for $50 allegedly, right? Um, that it's concerning, right? But when you think about it concerns me when you think about the length of Spider-Man 2, because Spider-Man
Mhm.
2 is really not a long game.
No.
Um, so that is a bit concerning, and when you try to split this into three, you better be giving me three, like not only New York, you better be giving me LA and Chicago with this. Like, yeah, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, right? It's like
Expand it.
I'm expecting a grand adventure
Yeah.
with not only the one city. So, what do you think of that model?
Like it's like at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. They're gonna have three of them, like more content, more gameplay, more fun. Like if you love what you got with one and two and the Miles game, then you're thinking, Craig, three more like stories being told, we get a lot more. I don't think that that's a good idea personally from a story standpoint to split it in three. I would rather them just release three separate standalone games and make them complete, not like the final split. Like I don't, it just feels a little like you know how Infinity War was supposed to be part one, part two, and they end up splitting out to Infinity War Endgame. Like it kind of feels like that should be more of a thing. Like make them be conclusive stories and don't make it that it's the same story running between three games. But it also is a great sales model. Like you know you're gonna make money from it, so I can't like make fun of them for it. I think it's smart from a business. It's just as a consumer and as a fan, I don't love it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like, um, so Final Fantasy VII remake. I mean, going back to that, right? That game was $60 when it came out. The
Yeah.
new one's gonna be 70, like the one
Mm,
that's coming out in a couple of months. And the third one is probably gonna be 70 again.
hmm.
So that was split in three parts. I I really love that first one, right? I have no problem paying for the part two and the part three. Um, but that's what I mean, right? It's the content has to be there, and
Hmm.
and and remake what it wasn't that long, considering it was a Final Fantasy game. It's around 35 40 hours. Even if you do the side stuff, and so it's not really that long. It does have some replay value because it has trophies that require a couple different playthroughs. It has hard mode, so it does give you some value there, and the game is great. Like the game plays fantastic, and the story is great. So and it looks incredible. So to me, it's worth it, right? If you're a fan, it's probably worth it. Problem is that when you and we know and we know the story of Final Fantasy VII. Although again, this remake's not really a remake;
Yeah.
it's a sequel. Um, when it comes to Spider-Man and having to split the story into three different parts, the content is my concern. Like, what are you? I mean, unless this story is like insane, dude. I mean, there's a setup for a big deal
Absolutely.
thing, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, that
Mm.
but at the same time, it's like, I mean, how big can you go? It's like, I mean, there's not only one setup; there are several setups in there.
Mm.
But again, how big can you go? And that's my question, right? It's like, how can you expand the map in a meaningful way without having to pat it down with like catch the pigeons and all that? Like, which I'm thankful that Spider-Man 2 was very straightforward. It didn't feel padded. It was I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it probably more than the first one because it just didn't feel padded. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
you go do the mission to save they do to the ambulance, and that's it. I think that was the worst part of the game. It was like having to take people to the ambulance when
Yeah.
after one of those like
Yeah.
crime missions. That was probably the worst part. But
Yeah.
it just other than that, it was great. I enjoyed it because it felt good, and it didn't feel like overly, like it didn't overstay its welcome. Right? It was still long. Like I still spent 35 almost 40 hours on it trying to do everything for the platinum, but it felt great. But how big can you go, man? That's the question.
Yeah. That's a good point. How big can they go? And I think that like if they can somehow pull it off, then and in a way that it makes sense, then I think you and I would probably put our positions in like we're pro. But right now it's like doesn't
Right.
sound like this is the right way, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I cannot either confirm nor deny. Uh, but if, and that's a big if, I don't know if it's real or not, but if that Wolverine footage is real, that's a day one buy for me.
Oh my gosh, bro. They what
Oh,
I saw and today I saw even more. I was like,
I don't
no,
know if
no,
it's real, but it looks sick.
this is yeah, this is the one. And there's
Yeah.
no way that thing's being rated teen.
Oh no,
There ain't no
they're
way.
they're going for it. They're going
Yeah.
for it. It was like that Wolverine game for PS3. Remember the one
Oh,
Origins?
Or the movie was crazy,
The,
but the game was great.
the game was great. Yeah, yeah, man. You had all
Video
that
games are
battle
great.
damage tech that they had. It was like the first game that you ever played with like real time like battle damage
Hmm.
and the
Yep.
healing and all. It was it was nuts, and it was brutal too. It was gory. It was, man, talk about talk about it as like uh, exceeding expectations. It's like whatever studio made that game. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna look up who made that game. Hold on.
Like we're actually gonna make a good game. Forget the movie stuff. But that's such a different time. Like I talked to different people. I was like, remember the days growing up where you would have games based off of movies? Like if there was going to be a new Spider-Man movie, there was a new Spider-Man game that was attached to it, or a Lord of the Rings movie, the Lord of the Rings game. It's just
Right.
not like nowadays that's not the thing at all.
Raven Software made this, so
Interesting. Wow.
they're Microsoft now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're part of Activision. Yep. So
Wow.
yeah, look at those guys.
Good for
That's
them.
another studio, man. Raven was like a really good studio that got relegated into making like Call of Duty DLC. Man, talk about
Never give them a chance.
no, man. And that game was awesome. So yeah, hopefully it'll be something close to that. But yeah, man.